my name's Lyndon Farrington. I'm going to say a few things on this video. Some of it might be controversial. I just want to say before I get going, I'm not an expert in the subjects I'm talking about before you start throwing bricks at me. What I'm going to talk to you about is things that I've studied. So definitely I am not a virologist, I'm not a doctor, I'm not an investigative journalist, just a normal guy. But I'll tell you what I am. I'm somebody who took 64 3-hour exams, 8 exams a year, and worked 3 shifts in a coal mine, and at weekends went with the TA for 6 years. So I'm a little bit more educated than the average Joe. Okay, I work very, very hard. I've got an analytical mind. When I was in the Territorial Army, I became the nuclear, biological, chemical warfare instructor in my unit. Doesn't make me an expert in chemical warfare or biological weaponry, but what it does do, it puts me a little bit higher than the average Joe in things that I know about. Okay, and certainly the engineering exams that I took in 2 universities put me a little bit higher in the state of having an analytical mind than most people. That's the only thing that I will say to be true about what I'm doing. And I am right now, I'm mad. I'm really, really angry about the news, the media, the things, the so-called reporters that sit there and tell us every single day the same thing. They're just reading from scripts. They're supposed to be journalists. They're not journalists, they're actors. I don't see an investigative journalist anywhere. You have to go looking for them online in different alternative media to find real investigative journalists. And the ones that start hitting on the accurate stuff or hitting on the things that really do need asking, you'll find they get banned. And I've seen only last week the second highest YouTube stream in the world got banned just for asking questions. And you see, the freedom of speech is being eroded right there in front of our eyes. If you look at what's being said on the nightly news, on the daily news, and if somebody goes against that, you see just how much airtime they get. Very, very little. So something really bothered me. The Imperial College, okay, this trusted, respected institution, the same people that told us we'd be swimming under 20 feet of water now because the ice caps would have melted by now, which they obviously haven't. The same people scared the living daylights out of the British government, Boris Johnson, poor guy in particular, and I'm not having a go at Boris Johnson here, just put yourself in his shoes. Okay, if he's the Prime Minister of the UK and somebody from Imperial College comes along to him and says there's a virus, it's going to kill between 250,000 and 500,000 people, what would you do if you were in his shoes? Would you start asking questions? Oh, I'm not so sure about this. And then when a couple of 100,000 people have died, it's all on his shoulders. So he panicked, just like every other president and prime minister around the world panicked and shut down and put martial law based on these computer models. And if you look now, they've revised their computer models. You could forgive them if they were 5% wrong or 10% wrong, but they are 10 times wrong. 1,000%. And this is the Imperial College London, supposedly the best brains we've got, and they are 1,000% wrong on 500,000 deaths, nowhere near. And so what's happening is the people that own the central banks also own the media, and the people in the media, those actors that call themselves reporters, are just reading off scripts all the time. Okay, and that's the sad thing, that the vast majority of the population sucking all this up as gospel truth. Like I said, I'm not an expert in biological warfare, chemical warfare, but I was my MBCD instructor, okay, in my unit in the Territorial Army. So it does make me a little bit more aware. So I started looking at this virus, and I started just doing some research online, that's all. And I came across some pretty clever virologists who'd done some analysis on this virus, the C19 virus, and they found out that it got 4 building blocks. One of them was coronavirus, which has been around for 800 years. Most people don't know that. We've all had some form of coronavirus. We've all got antibodies in our body for that. Then the building blocks that this virus was, the receptors, the 4 building blocks that this virus has, that this bat supposedly passed on to a human or passed on to a snake. This building block of this virus had in it 4 parts coronavirus, 2 parts of the SARS virus, and 1 part of HIV. What's HIV doing in there? It doesn't mean to say that when you get COVID-19 you're going to get HIV, but the building blocks of them are those 4 things, and that tells me that this definitely could not have been a natural virus, because that bat, when it passed it on to the snake or passed it on to the person, that bat at that moment in time would have had to have had coronavirus, 2 types of SARS virus, and HIV all at the same time. That's just not going to happen, is it? So I know that this is a man-made virus, and no one's ever going to convince me otherwise. Like I said at the beginning, I'm not an expert, just the independent research I've done has led me to that conclusion. You might think, Lyndon, that's absolutely stupid to say something like that, but why isn't people in the mainstream news asking these questions and people coming back with the right answers? I'll tell you why: because they're frightened of the answer. They don't want us to know the truth. So one thing is, I thought, okay, let's have an independent investigation. But we're not going to get that, because I have dug up some really intelligent people who've asked some fantastic questions, who've got some of the highest streams in YouTube history, and they just block them. And I've noticed that, and I've noticed that is a horrible impingement on freedom of speech. Just asking questions now gets you blocked on mainstream media. So, let me tell you what I really do know. Businesses are closing down and they're never going to come back. I know that suicides now as a result of this will probably exceed the deaths due to COVID-19. I know those businesses are gone, and I know nobody in the media, and you ask yourself this now: is anybody screaming for this year's flu figures? Is anybody screaming out, let's have a look at the pneumonia figures for this year, the flu figures for this year? Because they're not. Anyone that's getting COVID-19 is everyone's getting the flu and pneumonia. That's COVID-19. So those flu deaths and pneumonia deaths are nowhere near the media, and we are being dreadfully misled, and we need to lift the lockdown right now. There's figures out there that, if you listen carefully, they're said very quickly on the nightly news. Such and such a person died after contracting COVID-19. They don't say they died due to C19. They say after. And listen for that key word, because it's said so quickly, but it is dreadfully misleading when they say it. So that's really what I want to do, and I want to play this video now, which I hope captures the mood of the nation.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value. So, I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore. I want you to get up right now. Get up, go to your windows, open them, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore. Things have got to change.
How many stations does this go out?
You've got to get mad.
67.
Say,
I know it goes to Louisville and Atlanta.
I'm not going to take this anymore. Then we'll figure out what to do about the depression and the inflation and the oil crisis. But first, get up out of your chairs, open the window, stick your head out and yell, and say, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
Who are you talking to, Herb?
CGG Atlanta.
Are they yelling in Atlanta, Herb?
Are they yelling in Atlanta, Ted?
But first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
They're yelling in Baton Rouge.
Get up out of your chair.
Son of a bitch! We struck the mother load!
Stick your head out of the window, open it, and stick your head out and keep yelling and yell, I'm as mad as hell. I'm not going to take this anymore. Just get up from your chairs right now. Go to the window.
Where are you going? I want to see if anybody's yelling.
Window, open it and stick your head out and yell and keep yelling. I'm mad as hell. I'm not going to take this anymore.
I'm mad as hell! I'm not gonna take it anymore! I'm mad as hell! I'm not gonna take it anymore!
I'm mad as hell. I'm not going to take it anymore.
I'm mad as hell and I'm not gonna take it anymore!
I'm mad as hell.
So are you mad as hell? Are you not going to take this anymore? Share this video with people and let's just make that go viral, that we're mad as hell and we don't want to take it anymore. The very few people that control this world, they want one government, one world currency, one set of laws, and that would be an absolute disaster. History has taught us that that is a very, very bad idea. But these people are extraordinarily wealthy people. They control all the global banks, the central banks, and they own the media. They're prepared to play the long game on this. And what has happened is this has taught them, for the first time in history, first time in human history, how to lock us up. Never before in history has the vast majority of the world been locked down into martial law. We're living in history now. This moment in time, we're living in history. So people are going to ask you, your grandchildren, your children are going to ask you, what did you do during this period? Because there are little liberties, freedoms being taken away from us every minute of every day. All I'll ask you to do is don't watch the news for 36 hours. Instead, go on this channel and look at 3 videos, Bitcoin Good or Bad, parts 1, 2 and 3. Particularly part 2, there's a book there, The Creature from Jekyll Island. Buy it, buy the audio book, read it, and then switch the news back on. And it will be like the film The Matrix, that you've just taken the red pill. And you'll start to see the things on the news and you'll think, oh my goodness me, what's going on here? So before I go any further, I just want to play you a clip from an author called, the author's Larkin Rose. And he wrote a book called The Most Dangerous Superstition. He's written many books. This book he's going to read an excerpt from chapter 2 of a book called How to Be a Successful Tyrant. It's a bit of a tongue-in-cheek book, but there's some things in there that I'd like you to listen to now.
How to Be a Successful Tyrant. It's my first book. I finished writing it in 2005, and it came out in 2006, so I finished writing it 15 years ago. It's currently out of print. I'm working on getting the second edition back into print. Thought I'd give a dramatic reading of one little part of it. This is Chapter 2, Exploiting Fear. From the beginning, subheading, Fear as a Tool. Now, keep in mind, this is written as a manual for someone trying to be a tyrant. So when it says you, it's talking to somebody trying to be a tyrant. Almost all oppression via propaganda is based upon scaring people and then presenting a false choice where the people can choose either to do what you want them to do or face some unknown, often purely fictional horror. This is not the method of the common thug, which can be summarized as, do this or I will hurt you. A successful modern tyrant never presents himself as the thing to be afraid of, as doing so would obviously create resentment and hatred in the peasantry, and that leads to resistance. Every thing to be feared, or TTBF, with which you terrorize your peasants must be presented as some separate outside evil that only you can save them from. You must present the simple choice between obedience to you and the threat of some unpleasant happening, which does not appear to be of your doing and which you pretend to lament the existence of. In short, you must deceive and scare the citizens into voluntarily giving up their freedom. Quote, the people never give up their liberties but under some delusion. End quote, Edmund Burke. A simple example would be making up a plague of some sort, assuring people that millions are doomed to die, and then claiming that giving you a lot of money and control is the only hope of averting disaster. Or perhaps, instead of making up a disease, you can pick a real disease, grossly exaggerate the risk it poses to the peasants, whip them into a frenzy, and then present yourself as their only hope for salvation, which, of course, will require you to be given much wealth and power. Recent history gives many examples to build upon, such as AIDS, anthrax, mad cow disease, etc. Even the common flu can be used to spread alarm and panic in the peasantry.
Does any of that sound familiar? We are being played like a fiddle. Does it make you feel helpless? Well, the purpose of this video is not to make you feel scared and helpless. Watch Bitcoin Good or Bad parts 1, 2 and 3 on this BeepX Coin channel. Watch those, and just there is all you have to do is stop using fiat currency. If you stop using fiat currency, if everybody in the world stop using fiat currency, if everybody went out and bought Bitcoin tomorrow and said, I don't want to use anything else. I want my wages in Bitcoin. I don't want anything else to do with fiat currency. You watch, the virus would disappear in a week because the government controls of it, the media controls of it would stop overnight. You might think I'm crazy, but I tell you what, I think history is going to prove me right. Whatever you think of me, whatever you think of this video, watch Bitcoin Good or Bad parts 1, 2 and 3 and put your comments in the section below. Don't feel helpless. You know after watching those videos what to do. Thanks for your time. Hey, and I nearly forgot to say, if you enjoyed this video and you agree with some of the things I said here, don't forget to share this video with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe and click the like button. That'd be really cool. See you soon.